If you care where Philadelphia is going, make sure you're in the room at the Fiddler Forum on April 13th at Fiddler Club. This is a full-day gathering built to bring together leaders, change makers, and people committed to the future of the city. It's a chance to hear from those on the front lines, engage with important ideas, and be a part of conversations designed to spark real action. Search the Fiddler Forum on Eventbrite to get your tickets now. Philly's got dozens of clubs, civic organizations, and communities that help people connect to the city and stay engaged. But finding these groups, especially as a busy adult, can be a real challenge. Well, Brian Adolph is on a mission to change that. He's the founder of an organization called Join Philly, which helps connect people to groups in our city. And he's also created a version of a sort of college club fair day, but for adults. This Sunday, Ryan is hosting the Philadelphia Activities Fair. It's a free event where people can meet representatives from more than 40 clubs and groups, and hopefully join one, or maybe a few. CityCast Philly is also going to be there. We're the official host and media partner for the event. It's Tuesday, April 7th. I'm Trina Nuri, and we're talking about clubs in the city. So, Brian, welcome to the show. An activities fair reminds me of back in college or high school where, you would go to like the center of the campus and all the clubs would have tables and you get there and you see what is being offered. But this is an activities fair for the whole city of Philadelphia. What problem were you trying to address by creating this activities fair?
Sure. Sinead, I'll say you nailed it. It is the high school club fair, but for adults and for Philadelphia citywide. So something I noticed, and actually this started when a few years ago I started something called Fishtown Choir, which is a bar choir. It's me and my friend. We go to different bars and clubs in the city, and people come in. We give them lyric sheets, teach them 3-part harmony, and these sing songs. It did win Best of Philly from Philly Mag.
Nice.
But something I noticed there is a lot of people were coming alone, and a lot of people were new to the city, which I was kind of surprised by. And while I started it as, hey, this is a fun thing to do, I'm going to play music and people can sing, a community formed out of that. So that thread was kind of going through. And then I watched a film called Join or Die, which is a documentary about Robert Putnam and his book Bowling Alone that came out in the late 90s, which really told the story of the decline of participation in associations and groups and clubs. And the tagline from that movie was, save democracy with clubs. And I went, yeah, that sounds cool. I want to do that. How do I do that? So that was really the impetus. And I kind of saw what was missing, where on one side we have a tremendous amount of clubs in Philadelphia, of social clubs, all different types of groups. So there's hundreds of clubs. There's over 100 clubs right now in the Join Philly directory, which is a place where you can find them all. At the activities fair, we're going to have clubs, but there's also what I call the Civic Commons group, which is organizations like Committee of 70, People's Budget Office, the Free Library of Philadelphia, because there we also have all these great resources in the city, but there was what I call a participation gap. So on the one side are all the clubs, all the resources. On the other side are a lot of people. There's about 35,000 people that move to Philadelphia every year. And I see it in Reddit threads of subject titles, lines of, I'm lonely. How do I make friends? I want to find things to do in the city. And I'm going, okay, there's a lot of people that want stuff. I saw them at Fishtown Choir. And there's all these great, amazing things happening. Why there's this gap. So Join Philly is really the participation on-ramp for the city's clubs and groups and communities and things to join.
Are there any initiations that you have to do to become part of these clubs and these organizations?
A good question. Maybe there's some weird initiations I don't know about for some of the clubs, but in terms of finding the clubs, no. And the whole idea of this activities fair is making it easy, making it visible, making it fun, making it celebrated to go and join things. Kind of going back to that documentary, things I learned from that was Someone that joins just one club is more likely to vote and is less likely to die sooner.
Wow.
And that kind of goes to the whole social isolation thing.
Right, I was
which
about to say, is it
super-
because you're a part of a community, you have someone to talk to or, gossip with, or just being physically active? Because some of the clubs are sports clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a lot of those. I will say I have not finished it, but I'm reading this book, a neuroscience book about being social, and I'm like, oh, this is way deeper. So I think it's all these different elements of, because we're human beings, right? Being in community, just being around other people, which is something we lost big time in COVID. There's something called weak ties, which is people you see. So during COVID, when schools closed and we would drop our kids off and just right out of the car and they would go to school. What got taken away was the going to the playground or the school, the schoolyard, and you would see your neighbors who maybe don't have the same political leanings as you do, or they're different in a way, but you would nod to them and that, friendly, like, hey. And that's those ties that we lost a lot during COVID, and I think what led to a lot of the social the loneliest epidemic as it's being referred to.
So, Brian, you've already had one of these activities fair before, and this is the second edition of the Philadelphia Activities Fair, right?
Yeah, well, the first one was a pilot. So the one we're doing now with CityCast is the official kind of inaugural Philadelphia Activities Fair. But yeah.
What did you see in that pilot?
So last summer, we had about 14 groups were there. We did it at the NKCDC Garden, and there was about 350 people came through on an insanely hot day. It was 98 degrees, one of those days, if you remember from the summer. And it was, I knew it was going to work, but I was kind of blown away at the vibes. I mean, everyone that went there was just desperate and such great desire to just find things to do. And there was nothing to buy there, so it wasn't your typical vendor fair. It was just really, really fun and engaging. And some of the takeaways were some of the groups that were there that have been around for a long time, surprised that a lot of people haven't heard of them. So I got a tremendous amount of feedback from people that came and from the participants about how effective it was. And it's not that hard to do these things, and the impact it has. I was really surprised some of the things that I've heard back from people.
This year's Activities Fair is happening April 12th, yes. And we are honored that CityCast Philly is the media sponsor of this event. I'll be roaming around, checking out the clubs, chatting with folks. CityCast Philly will have a big tent outside, and this is all happening at the Philadelphia Ethical Society, right around Rittenhouse Square. So come by our table, our tent, and say hi. We'll be back after this quick break. So, Brian, there's going to be book clubs, bike crews, civic coalitions, sketch artists, singing circles, pickup sports, mutual aid networks. Give us a rundown on some of the organizations that people can expect to check out at the Activities Fair.
Sure. We have some new clubs that recently started, like the Analog Lovers Club, which I'm super into, the 12th House Social Club, which is all about astrology and those kind of things. Black Hippie Art, Circle John Singers, Creative Mornings, the Fishtown Beer Runners, Hotties Roll Dice. We're also going to have Let Me Know Club, which runs a very popular social and crafting club. They're going to have their own room. It's going to be called the Let Me Know Clubhouse because we wanted to actually have some programming there, as I'm really gearing this fair towards newcomers and people that are coming solo. So Let Me Know Clubhouse is going to do what they call Platonic Love Club, which is really a speed friending. So we're going to have that going on, as well as some other activities in that room.
And all of this is free.
This is free, thanks to our underwriters. You're not going to see a lot of sponsors here. I was really careful. We needed money to make this happen, but we didn't want sponsors that didn't make sense. So I really went to the community. Obviously, CityCast came on as our official media partner. The Philadelphia Ethical Society is providing the space. We have the Free Library of Philadelphia, Glitter, which if you're not familiar, they do street cleaning service around the city, which is pretty awesome. We also have PFCU, Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, came on board to help us out. We also have, like I mentioned, the Civic Commons area, groups like Committee of 70, which I think they're doing some kind of fun Quizzo thing. And that's something we're asking all the groups as much as possible to do something interactive and something engaging and something fun. So it's not just pamphlets.
What I am looking forward to the most is just learning about what exists that I did not know. As a sort of lifelong Philadelphian, I don't know everything about everything. So this is just kind of cool to kind of branch out to new communities that I didn't know were even existed.
Yeah, I'll give you one, Trinae. They will not be at the fair, but I remember months ago in the directory when the Philadelphia Cactus Society submitted. And I said, yes, we finally got the Philadelphia Cactus Society. I didn't know they existed either, and they've been around for a really long time. So there really is something for everyone in Philadelphia. You just got to know where to find it. Hence why I started Join Philly.
How many people are you expecting at the fair?
We have almost 1,000 people have already RSVP'd to this event. I expect we're going to have even more, especially if it's nice out. So once again, this is right off of Rittenhouse Square. This is in the zeitgeist right now of joining and having clubs and doing all these things. And what I see, the need is better support for these clubs. So my role is ideally kind of championing them and saying, yes, we need this. I would love to be able to support them more with more resources. And I've been talking to other organizations across the country doing similar things about micro grants and things to support these. And this is kind of, even though this is an event, this is the Philadelphia Activities Fair, it's still just another proof point to show, like, here's what's needed. Here's how much it costs, not that much, and here are the benefits.
Brian, do you think that the city is doing enough to support this ecosystem, to nourish this ecosystem? What do you think?
It's a tough one. No, I don't, but it's not for possibly a lack of trying. Just as you and me, we're not as aware of all these clubs. This is kind of a problem that people aren't necessarily aware of. When I started it, I was like, is this really important? I know my kid goes to Philadelphia public school. There's not toilet paper in the bathroom sometimes. Is this a serious issue? But when I got the feedback that I received from the clubs at that first group and from the attendees, here's to show you is I sent out a little survey to that first RSVP list, about 350 people. And there was a couple of questions that were really open-ended, and I was shocked at the number of people that actually replied to an email survey with a question like, what's missing in Philadelphia? What's kind of community you're looking for? And I got such amazing responses. This is such an easy one. That's like, yes, people are strong leaders on this. And from my perspective, all the pieces are here. And I'm getting really big on not duplicating efforts. And I'm going, okay, the Philadelphia Ethical Society, which is recently has a new leader there, this guy Philip Lindsay, who's amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I was there 2 weeks ago and saw you speak to the people there. And Philip is really trying to make this a third place. And this is something that everyone is bemoaning now, the lack of third places and third spaces.
And also that it doesn't involve alcohol. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there are groups on the directory about that, looking for that. So I do believe the city could do more. Early on when I started this project, I was on a panel talking about activities fairs, and someone else in this panel, which I bring this up often, was this lovely woman from the small department in Boston where they have an office of civic organizing. And they do a handful of really cool things, but one of their main things they do is just giving grants to people to have block parties. And there's a whole department for that.
I love that idea. And bring the block parties back.
Yeah, now we have them, and there is 250th money. And you said this earlier, and it's one of the things that keeps coming up is this is great. All these great things we're doing for visitors. What happens next year? When this is all gone, how do we keep these things going? So that's top of my mind as this, like I said, it's in the zeitgeist, the social loneliness and the joining, all this stuff. And I'm trying to build Join Philly to be sustainable, so it's not just a one and done type of thing. So when I look at Boston, where their mayor was saying there is statistical evidence that it is better for the health of people to have block parties. That's a focus. Here's some money, a 3-person department. I don't know if that's what we need here. I'm really super intrigued by the People's Budget Office, where I recommend you come check them out at the fair. They are part of Mural Arts. So there are different types of organizations. So it's kind of who's already doing the work.
Going back to the block parties, Brian, like there's a reason that the city and, officials said that they had to kind of pull back on block parties, and that was due to significant gun violence in the city. And there's so many other issues. So, we've talked about kind of like the exciting parts of Philadelphia, the things that we didn't know existed. It's great that, we're building community and we're finding out about our neighbors that have like the cactus community. But I'm wondering though, what about our neighbors who have to deal with some really hard stuff? Yeah. How do we engage with those neighbors and, find ways to make the city a little bit better? Because it's not perfect.
That's a tough one. I do have notions kind of based on all the stuff I've been learning as I'm doing Join Philly, kind of going back to the Robert Putnam work where he has two kinds of, and this is where I'm not an academic, but bridging and bonding groups of people. So bonding is everyone at your book club. So it's people that you have this shared interest, similar things. Those are bonding experiences. Bridging is essentially bridging across to people who are not necessarily exactly like you, and it's not, one's not better than the other, but it's important to have both. And I was mentioning earlier about post COVID or during COVID and weak ties and some of the things we lost, and we lost a lot of that bridging. I read all the stats and how bad it is, but I live in Fishtown. I look at my neighborhood and I go, it's really not that bad here. My kid's out of the neighborhood school, but I used to go there and dropped them off and saw my neighbor that's different political leanings than me, and we nod and we're friendly, and like I'm friendly with my neighbors because I see them, because we live in a city like Philadelphia. I do think, there are a lot of stats about social health. And even something that's now becoming somewhat more prevalent is called social prescribing, where medical doctors are prescribing social activities for people. So the Philadelphia Activities Fair on Sunday, April 12th is not going to fix a lot of problems in the city, but it's an outlet. And what I hope it creates, and if anything, the fact of these on-ramps that I saw were missing. And I was, man, we need more what I'm calling on-ramps and this participation on-ramp. So here's one little on-ramp is make it a little bit easier on one day to find something that you can join and find belonging with.
All right, we've got more after this quick break. Okay, Brian. What is a way for someone to approach a new group on April 12th at the Philadelphia Ethical Society? What kind of like hacks, tricks would you give to people who are shy?
Great question. So one of the things, when you walk up to the table, we're going to have the Join Philly welcome table outside right next to the CityCast Philly table. We have a handful of these conversation starter stickers where one just says, I'm new to Philly. I think it says say hi on it. And I got a couple other ones. So ideally people will come and they'll pick those up and they're going to write some fun, cool things. So as you're walking around, you can run to someone. Yeah, this sticker says like my go-to spot. And you can put,
What's your go-to spot?
Oh, my go-to spot. My go-to spot is anywhere that you are. It's like, where can I get more CityCast? That's my go-to spot.
My go-to spot is, and I know everyone's rolling their eyes when I say this because I say it all the time, but my go-to spot is East Falls Vault and Vine Coffee Shop. I love that place. They have plants. They have coffee. They've got pastries. And they've got indoor-outdoor seating. Love it.
Cool. So that's what you're going to write in your sticker. And then someone's going to say, ooh, what's that? Or, oh, I love that place too. And like I said, everyone there is excited to be there. All the people participating, all the people attending. I mean, this is a very engaged audience of people. So it is just my experience doing it from that pilot, and then also talking to people who are doing these all over our country. I want to give a shout out to my state mates, which I recently learned, it's a word. There's this awesome woman, Savannah, who does this Things to Do fair in Lancaster. She's been doing it for a couple of years. And then there's Haley in Pittsburgh with her Pittsburgh Social Health Connection Expo that she just did, had over 850 people go to, which I'll say CityCast Pittsburgh had a table there. And so we get together and we talk and trying to form this little coalition also of, we're just 3 citizens that are just impassioned about this. How do we get funding? How do we make this sustainable? So we're going, maybe we can do this on a statewide level and just sharing what we've learned. So just in Pennsylvania, there's 3 amazing, including me, people doing this kind of work and doing it for their communities. I mean, this one is intentionally for Philadelphia. My very good friend now, Jared Joyner, real last name, runs this thing called Joiners, is having his activities fair on the same date in Oakland, California. And the needs of Oakland are different than the needs of Philadelphia. So there's this whole community of people doing these kind of things across the country, which is super exciting.
What should you bring to the event? A tote bag for all the cards and flyers and swag, some water. What are some pro tips for attending this activities fair?
Great question. Just bring yourself. Sure, if you want to bring a tote bag, I'm not sure what people have giving away. That's a great idea. It's 4 hours. You don't have to stay the whole time. You can pop in and out. It's probably going to be pretty crowded. We're designing it as intentionally as possible. It's a small-ish space. For the amount of people that are going to be in there, it's on 2 floors. There's a total of, I think, 46 groups that will be there. I wish we could have more. There's probably about 30 that have emailed me since we started that want to come, that we just don't have the room for. So next year will be even bigger. But I really thought it was important to do it at the Ethical Society. I wanted these awesome, cool groups in a civic space to introduce that space to people that don't know about it. And like I said, they're doing a ton of work there now and want this to be a space for the community. It's right on Rittenhouse Square, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love it. What about dogs? Are they allowed?
Probably not. I'm going to say no.
Okay. What about
not my space, but I'm thinking no.
What about our littlest, tiniest, teeniest Philadelphians? The kiddos, are they allowed?
Kids are allowed, but this is geared towards adults. So there's not things for kids there, really. But yeah, I'm not going to say no kids are allowed to come in. All
right. Now, Brian, what organizations or clubs are you a part of in the city?
Great question. I am not allowed to join any more clubs. Because I keep wanting to start new ones every week. Like I said, I do Fishtown Choir. It's on a little bit of a break, but we're going to come back this summer. I also co-host or co-run Creative Mornings Philadelphia, which is an awesome monthly speaker series for any human being, but it's for creative people, for the creative community. And there's going to be a Creative Mornings table there. I'm also a neighbor.
Yes. And speaking of neighbors, if you want to become a CityCast Philly neighbor, head over to membership.citycast.fm. Well, this is great. I'm excited to see everyone and see you again on Sunday, April 12th at the Activities Fair. Brian, thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Trinae. Please go to joinphilly.com where you can RSVP and win a prize from some amazing sponsors we have.
Tons of resources we dropped in this episode, so make sure you check out the show notes for all the links. For today here on CityCast Philly. I am so excited for Sunday and to see you all there. If you enjoyed this episode about the Philadelphia Activities Fair event, make sure you RSVP and send this episode to a friend. Also, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Philly neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.